everybody. Welcome to this month's episode of the Female Film Critics Panel. And this month we are talking about 2022, the year of movies, and what are our top 5 favorite films so far in the year. It's going to be so much fun, and I'm really excited for the guests that I have on with me today. We have Molly Rasberry's back.
Yeah, hi.
Yes.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming. And we have Manda is back. She did our end of the year last year, so it's so fun to have you back.
I am so excited to do this. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. I want to ask both of you, how do you feel this year has been as far as a year so far of movies? Do you think it's been strong or weak or somewhere in between? What do you think, Molly?
I think it's been a bit stronger than last year because with the pandemic going on, every movie that was supposed to come out during the Oscar month of the 2020 got pushed back to then the 2021 Oscar month. So then we didn't get those great films until really later, I feel. And they were trying to push it in so that they could be like, oh, remember this for Oscar season. We got to remember this and everything like that. So I think it's a stronger year in my opinion. So,
yeah, we're finally getting the end of those pushback movies. I feel like the Minions movie will be the last big release that we've been well, I haven't been waiting for it, but it has been delayed.
My most anticipated of the year.
Minions. It's all we need more memes.
Yes.
I just need to not have to see that trailer again.
I know.
It's been so long.
That was me for Death on the Nile. I was just like, when it finally came out, I was like, finally, no more champagne to fill the Nile.
Like, I literally did a trailer reaction for the Minions 2 in I think February of 2020 on my channel.
Oh my God.
Oh wow.
Lord.
Oh no.
Yes. So but Mona, what do you think? Do you think it's been strong?
Yeah, I think it's been strong. I think there's been a fairly good mixture of like indie films and then mainstream blockbusters that have come out that people have been excited for. And, you know, it's a little bit for everybody more so than, the previous 2 years. So I think, like it's been a nice mixture. And it's better. I feel like even the hype surrounding these films, like, because they've been majority of the people like most anticipated, like obviously the Maverick, the Batman, like that kind of stuff, like people have been hyped for that, but it's like the indie films that have come out that have surprised many people. So I think that's awesome. And I think that's where the spotlight is on the indie films this year being better than the previous years.
Yeah. And it is just really gratifying to see people going back to the theaters.
Yes.
Seeing even something like No Way Home making big bucks, and now we're going to see it. It looks like Top Gun's going to do really well. That's very exciting. I just believe in the theatrical experience, and like you said, Molly, last year we had a lot of day and date releases, and just it was just a kind of a tough time to be a movie fan. I had a lot of unpopular opinions at the beginning of the year. I felt like I was Mrs. Grumpy Pants in a lot of my opinions. But then I feel like April on, I've found my favorites. I found ones that I've liked. So that's been good, because I wasn't a big fan of Turning Red, and I didn't love the Batman. I didn't hate it. I was right in the middle on it. So those were two kind of big ones that were like, stay away. But there's been some really good ones. I felt like I had a lot of unpopular opinions at Sundance, which is always tricky because their movies get so hyped. But it'll be interesting to see what happens when they actually get released, to see if they have the same, that high altitude, even though we weren't at high altitude, but they say the Sundance high altitude affects the brain sometimes. And I think part of it is that when you're at Sundance, you see so many movies and you see a lot of terrible movies. And so the ones that are like, sometimes I think kind of average get like elevated, because you're just like, wow, that was way better than the last one that I saw.
Yeah.
which was terrible.
Yeah, it's true. I think Alice just really set up that stage. I think that was the biggest one I saw that people were like, "Oh God, I hate this." I'm like, "Oh, thank God I did not snag a ticket for this."
Oh yeah, that's
Instant
actually
regret.
my worst of the whole year is Alice.
It was a struggle. Like I was half
Oh.
hour into that one, and yeah.
And you're
I
like, and
saw
you want to
everyone
like
reacting.
it. It's just like it
Yeah.
had Black female creative talent going behind it. And you're just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and I feel it was the same thing with Queen and Slim. And there's so many people like, oh, you should have enjoyed this. But so many people, and especially Black audience, were like, I don't want to watch Black torture
Yeah.
anymore. I just don't
Yeah.
want this anymore. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
thank God they agree.
Yeah, I guess maybe we could start by saying a few that we didn't like. I actually did not like the movie Dog at all. I thought that it was such a misfire. I mean, yes, the dog is adorable. I understand. And Channing Tatum is hot. I get that. But
Yes.
I just thought all the attempts at humor were so bad. The whole threesome scene was so awkward. And then the whole scene at the hotel, I just thought was, again, very awkward and not funny. And I don't know. I just really disliked it. And I was so surprised. I mean, the power of a adorable animal. I understand that, but I just, that was a big misfire to me. I also really hated a movie at South by Southwest called The Cow with Winona Ryder, which was
No.
It's really stupid. I did not like Men. I thought
I didn't like it either.
I thought it was really bad. And I also hated the Cheaper by the Dozen remake. That was not for me.
No.
Fair.
Fair.
That is, I guess those are some of my least favorite of the year so far. I didn't ask you to prepare that, but if you have any that you have on the top of that you really did care for, what do you think, Manda?
I'm a massive Scream fan. Like I absolutely adore that franchise. It's the first horror movie that I've ever watched. And then I watched Scream 5 and I could not stand that movie. And everyone's loving it. They're saying it was, it was the great since the first one. And I just could not, like, I just went off on Scream 5 and I shouldn't have, but I was just so upset because, there was so much
your
hype.
Truth.
Yeah. I mean, I get yelled at for Venom takes, so like I'm used to it by now. But the Scream 5 fans, it was hard. But that's the one that comes to my mind where I'm like, I could not do it. Like,
I am with you on this. Actually, I gave it 2 stars, so I wasn't very high on it. I haven't seen any of the other films except for the original, so this is I haven't seen the franchise. I just thought it was really try hard. I mean, it was just like I felt it's one of those movies where I felt like the director thinks we're stupid. Like, we don't need you to explain this. We got it. Like literally it would have characters explain something that was totally obvious. And I was like, okay. I mean, I've seen like 2 horror movies in my life and I understood it. And so I don't know. I didn't care for it either. So I'm with you. I thought it was very
I agree with that sentiment where they're saying like, oh, you got to re-explain everything. And it was an issue they had with Ready or Not. And I felt that really kept it from being a truly great satire. I was just like, or it didn't go far enough. It was just like, oh, why are you still trying to cater to the dumb people who don't understand? I'm just like, I don't like it when you're trying to get to the lowest common denominator. I'm just not a fan. And I think, even though I did enjoy Scream and the theatrical experience really enhanced that, because I watched it that opening Friday with a full crowd and everything.
Nice.
So, and they were really enjoying it. So I was just like, okay. And my friend is a huge Scream fan. She's watched all the films. She's seen the series. She loves the MTV series too. Her favorites, her favorites are Scream 4 and Scream 1.
Yes.
And yes, she's got good taste like that. And she's like, I enjoyed this. I didn't like it as much as Scream 2, and it's definitely not on the level of the first Scream 4 and Scream 1. But yeah, I could see exactly how that was going with that. Yeah.
Did either of you see Dog?
I didn't watch. I wanted to because like I'm living for Channing Tatum like coming back to the big screen. I'm so happy for him because The Lost City was great.
I love Lost City. Was really fun.
So I'm just happy for like this resurgence of Channing Tatum. But yeah, I'll try to catch it.
Did you have a least favorite, Molly, that we haven't talked about?
I think my least favorites this year, I'm also gonna be on the outsider list of this. I think it's a tie with Men and the movie Duel, Riley Stearns film. You're like, yes,
agreed. I enjoyed Duel, but Men, I completely agree.
I was just like, I loved Karen Gillan's performance. It's her best one, but I was just like, he was just so misguided. He didn't really know, what do you want to satirize? Do you want to satirize the healthcare industry? Do you want to satirize capitalism? Do you want to satirize the ideas of people are replaceable? Just like, and then he doesn't really develop characters. He develops just themes. It's the same thing with Men. It's just like, just develop the themes, but these characters are just so flimsily written, you don't really care about them. So you're just like, oh, okay.
I guess I kind of took that one as just sort of a goofy sci-fi movie, not like really trying that hard to have big, deep themes, where something like Men is obviously like, trying really. I just took it as kind of a, like a goofy story.
Like, with Men, I was just disappointed because I'm just like, I want you to be good. I love Annihilation too. And it's just like, and all his metaphors and imagery are meant to be allegorical for something. Like Annihilation is about self-destruction and how our entire humanity is based in self-destruction, including our very cells are self-destructing. It's destructing, and Ex Machina is about who can play God, and also with ideas of feminism and everything like that. But the message of men are bad, and also including Black men, they're bad. They can be bad, especially against white women. And that was just like, I know you didn't intend for that, but that just looks very racist, Alex Garland. I don't know how that oversight got in there, because it almost seemed like a Black man is haunting this white female protagonist, and you're just like, this really need a recasting. I'm sorry, I really like this actor, but they really need a recasting for that, because that's a really bad message for that. I pointed that out in my review, and the writer for Vulture, Angelica Jade Bastien, also brought that up too. But we both also agree that it was probably very unintentional, because he's British, and it's more of a class system over there than it is a racial system. But it's still a very big oversight, and I was just like, oh God, people are going to take this the wrong way, and that's just like, So,
I just thought it was so stupid. I just hated it. I said in my review, I said now we have Men, which purports to give us a folk horror movie, but instead serves up a pretentious, heavy-handed, non-scary piece of art house junk. No, thank you.
Art house junk.
Yes.
So I didn't care for it.
Religious imagery that just ends up being fancy window dressing, signifying practically nothing by the end of it. So
I also said there will be people who claim this is brilliant, but I don't see anything great about what it's trying to say or do. Why not have one sympathetic man so Harper's confused and doesn't know who to trust? This would be scary and provide more layered view of how toxic masculinity and abuse happens. Instead, we get this pretentious horror film that fails in nearly every respect.
Damn, Rachel. I gotta rethink my score.
I gave it a 2 out of 10.
I gave it a 2.5 out of 5. So I was like, I didn't hate it as much as you, because I understood there was concerted effort for it, and the acting was good, and the music and the cinematography was good. So I was like, I give half a star extra for that.
Did you go rotten on Rotten Tomatoes?
Did not. They only do it with Film Stage, and I did not write a review.
Okay.
I wrote it for my own blog and Letterboxd as well, which I think was reblogged, or it's going to be reblogged by the NC Film Critics Association, because I'm part of them now. So yay!
Cool.
Yay.
Well, enough negativity. Thinking about Men. This is the Female Film Critics panel, but it's kind of good that we talked about that, I feel like, because it's supposedly saying something to us, I would think, and it failed.
About like feminism, but it's just like, I don't think it really did very well with that. So very clunkily handled. So
Are you a fan of Rachel's Reviews? Do you look forward to Family Movie Night, Female Film Critics Panels, or the Talking Disney podcast? If so, please consider supporting the podcast by becoming a Patreon. As a patron, you get to access monthly events such as the watch-alongs and Q&As, where you get to talk to stars and find out the behind the scenes of the movie making industry. And you can pick what I review for Family Movie Night or even become a guest on the podcast. Podcasts and YouTube channels are expensive, and I really, really could use your help. I would so appreciate it. You also get to be a member of the Facebook group where we talk about all the films that we're seeing, and we have so much fun. Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies and select one of the Rachel's fan tiers. That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies. So we have our top fives. And I'll start, and then if you want to go Manda and then Molly.
Sure.
So my number 5 is, and I went back and forth. I'm not married to this order, but I did have to go with Top Gun Maverick. I just thought it was so entertaining. It had such especially that last third of the movie, when they're actually basically blowing up the Death Star. I was literally gripping my armrest. It was so immersive, and sometimes I'm actually not that big a fan of the IMAX because it just can be too loud, particularly this one that they always do the screenings in. And I don't know, I sometimes don't love the IMAX. It can be too much for me. But this was like perfect for IMAX, and it was the perfect experience. And I just got so invested. I was so entertained. I loved the music. I loved the performances. I thought they all really worked well. I loved the nostalgia and how they worked it in very seamlessly and effectively. So I thought it was just a really great movie. So Amanda, what about you? What's your number 5?
I totally agree. I don't know if this movie is gonna get my my film critic card revoked or not, but I had an absolute blast going to the theater for Jackass Forever.
Yes.
I had an absolute blast. I don't know what it was, and maybe it was because it came out during a time where like there was a lull and there weren't that many movies that were considered good in that release date. But
it was when people were still sort of worried about Omicron, wasn't it? In January.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I had watched Scream and then I didn't like it, and I'm like, oh man, it's gonna start off like this, and then Jackass like saved the year for me basically.
Yes.
I was like, thank God. But yeah, I grew up watching it. The boys are always fun. And for me, it was more of just like seeing these friends on screen together. And just having fun, and like them having fun made us have fun. Like the audience was like dying of laughter. There are some stunts in there where I had to like literally cover my eyes because I was like, I'm seeing way too much I shouldn't be seeing. But it's so entertaining, and you feel like you're part of the family. It's like an extended family. But yeah, such a good time. I really, really loved it. So it's definitely top 5 for me.
Yeah, I've heard that from a lot of people. I've never seen any of them. I adopt like pain and like it would be too. I would just be like, kind of thing for me.
Yes.
But I heard that from a lot of people. I really have.
Yeah.
Did you see that, Molly?
I have watched a bit of Jackass, and I used to be one of those pretentious people like, oh, those men are stupid, and like the South Park thing was like, oh, you're prostitutes, they're prostitutes. But if you remember that episode where they were discussing that, but I got into, it was weird because originally I got into Steve-O and Bam's series. It was the series where they went on safaris and everything like that, and they commune with nature, except they did the craziest stunts. Like Steve-O actually put his butt on a porcupine one time, and I could not stop laughing during that part. He had to get the things out of his butt, and they're like, ah! I was like, that's actually funny. And then I started watching a bit of the show and everything, and I was like, this is super gay and I'm getting into this. And it's just like their logo has a rainbow on it. And it's just like it's there and it's so great. I remember I was telling these people at the parking lot, this guy dropped his wallet and had hundreds of dollars in it. We're like, oh, who is this guy? We should take it to the theater. And this guy was like, oh crap, where's my wallet? And it's like, is this you? We already checked the idea. We know it's him. It's like, yeah. It was like, what are you watching? Jackass. And like, oh, the gayest movie of the year. They're like, what? Like bring it up. Yeah, it's super gay. They're all in thongs and everything like that, and they're all hugging each other and everything, and it's got a rainbow right there. And they're like, now it's like it's opened up their whole perspective, and I'm like, yeah. And it was heartwarming. I actually read this piece from Bitch Media, I believe it was, this trans woman actually bringing up that Jackass saved her life when she was friends with these guys in high school before she transitioned, and how they felt like a family trying to recreate these stunts and everything like that, and seeing them being secure in their own masculinity and being secure with being able to be feminized and everything like that made her realize just like, I can transition. I'm strong enough for this. I mean, if they can handle having their testicles ripped off by ice, then I think I could do this. That's actually one of my favorite stunts. I was like, they were sitting there like, oh, and I was like, this is funny.
Yeah, because we're watching, it's like, we can't hurt there, so it's fine for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Off, so.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yes, Johnny Knoxville is such a great supporter of the LGBTQIA community, and I was like, yay, go Johnny, you're such a nice guy. So yes, I approve of them.
All right, Molly, what is your number 5?
So I had to switch between these. Originally it was After Yang, which I know you didn't care for because you thought it was slow and everything, but I realized I slightly liked RRR a bit more, Roar, Riot, Rebel. And I love this filmmaker's original film, Bahubali, the duology with it. And I just love this Indian cinema. I love how bombastic and just like frenetic the energy is, and I'm just like that guy just caught a tiger in a net. That's super cool. And just like using a bow and arrow and gets these British imperialists and annihilating them one by one. This must have been what people felt like when they saw Return of the Jedi and they saw the Ewoks just like fighting off the stormtroopers with the sticks and everything, but just like even more badass. I was like, oh yeah. It was just like, and of course the music is great, and all the acting is hammy and cheesy, and I just love it. It's about this, and it's about these dudes and their friendship and realizing that their bond is strong and that they're both fighting for the same cause against British imperialism and to save their home. And I just really loved that, and I loved seeing that in that regard.
Well, I'm really happy that you mentioned that as your number 5 because it is my number 4. RRR.
Segue.
Yes.
I love it so much. I mean, I debated because the action, it's totally different kind of action in Top Gun Maverick, and I was equally kind of as engrossed, but because I'm a musical person, I love music, so that I had to give this the edge, plus a little bit more creativity and everything, but there's just nothing like watching Rajamouli, SS Rajamouli movie. His movies are true spectacle that we just don't get very much in the way that he delivers spectacle. And you think that what he's able to do on like a $60 million budget is just absolutely amazing.
Exactly. And the CGI is not up to par to American standards, but you just get so into it, you don't care. And that's
actually, it becomes kind of part of the charm of it all. It becomes kind of part of the hokiness and part of and this is basically a buddy movie between these two friends. I mean, they have this whole great song about how much they love each other and how great friends they are. And then one of my favorite sequences of the whole movie is when they have the whole dancing scene, because there's all these bougie people that are all at this military ball thing, and he's with one of the British women,
Jenny,
and and he's like, I'll show you how to dance, and then they do this whole incredible routine, That's awesome. Where they dance, and it's great. It's a very cheerful, fun, wonderful movie, and is long, but that's also part of the experience. That's part of a Hollywood Rajamouli film. And I don't know if the songs are quite on par with Bahubali, especially Bahubali. I think Bahubali 1 had the best songs. I think the story's a little better in Bahubali 2.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, but the songs aren't quite as good in that one. But I just love SS Rajamouli. He's amazing. And there's I've heard some rumblings that there's talk of maybe getting him to do like a Western movie, like a Marvel movie or something like that.
Cool.
I would die.
Yes.
I would be so excited.
Please, you guys are hyping this up for me.
And it's coming back to theaters on June 1st. You should go see it, Manda.
Oh, awesome. Okay, if it's going back to theaters, I may check it out for sure.
Yeah,
because I think it's on
Netflix,
but it's worth it.
Okay. Hey, I sat through The Irishman. I can sit through anything multiple times.
Exactly.
This is way better than The Irishman.
And usually, and fewer trailers, thank goodness.
Well, Manda, what do you have it for?
At number 4, I have Galactica Leo Grand. It was my favorite movie at Sundance this year. I'm all for seeing female sexuality on screen, no matter at what age. I just love that there's that exploration, there's that conversation, that kind of discussion where it's very open about how women feel like in sexual relationships or like in non-sexual relationships. And Daryl McCormick and Emma Thompson gave fantastic performances. Their chemistry was so strong. And I just fell in love with them communicating with each other. I think like it wasn't even like the sexual nature of this movie. It was just the fact of being like emotionally intimate with someone through conversation. And I think that's where, some relationships, that's where it lacks. And you need to have that communication. And it's very important to show that on screen. And I just absolutely fell in love with this movie. Emma Thompson's a doll. When she looks at herself in the mirror in that final, like it was just, oh my God, tears in my eyes. Like as long as like a woman at any age feels comfortable in her body and doing what she needs to do and like just taking that initiative to like learn something new too, and just to like explore herself. I think that we as women need to explore ourselves and go on our own journey, no matter how many changes we go through. So I absolutely love this one. One of my favorites this year.
Yeah, I want to see it. I was a little bit nervous about it, but I've heard so many good things and that it's very empowering and very well done. And so I definitely will check it out for sure. Yeah.
Do
it. But Molly, what about you? What's your number 4?
Mine is actually the same.
Yeah.
So, yes, I wholly agree with Manda, what she said. I also loved the fact that I connected this with my own mother, which I'm pretty sure people are just like, ew, with the sex part. Like, no, the fact you can change your opinion about yourself and also change your opinion about your attitudes towards other people. Like when she apologized to a former student, calling her for slut shaming her, because especially for a lot of women around the boomer age, there's a lot of internalized misogyny in there. And the film actually shows that there's growth with that. And I just love that. I also really love the director Sophie Heights' original film Animals with Holiday Granger, and I would almost call her Hermione Granger like Harry Potter, but Holiday Granger and Alia Shawkat. And I watched it at Sundance years ago, and I so desperately wanted somebody to pick it up. I wrote a review and everything for it, and they were like, no one picked it up. And I was like, dang it. And I was just like, and she just gets the human condition of this of connection just so well, especially in these really smart and fun meditations on the human condition, especially from a feminine perspective that we don't really see a lot, and especially in the British zeitgeist. And that I just really loved. And of course I loved that Emma Thompson got to be sexy, because she is. I was just like, I'm sorry, I just thought she was way more attractive than Daryl McCormick, but that's just my preference right there. So yeah, but he did really good too. I even told my coworkers, like, that guy from Wheel of Time, and he's like, oh yeah, because he watches Wheel of Time and he's a huge fan of the series. He's like, yeah, that guy, he's cute. And I was
Yeah.
like, yeah. Yeah, so I very much enjoyed it. I'm glad this one got picked up and people actually get a chance to see a Sophie Hyde film in the theaters. And that just makes me happy to see female directors succeed as well.
Very cool. All right. Well, my number 3 is maybe a bit controversial because some people wouldn't think of this as a movie, but I got both of your okay on it. So I'm going with the pro shot that they did of the West End performance of Anything Goes with Sutton Foster and Robert Lindsay. I thought it was absolutely outstanding. I gave it a 10 out of 10, a perfect score. I can't imagine doing this play any better than, and it's not just that it's incredible. Got incredible Cole Porter songs and incredible dance numbers, but they actually did a really good job with the pro shot of giving you a sense of scope of these dance numbers and then coming in closer when they needed to. So I think they actually used the cinematic art form to full effect to give you the not only the feeling of if you were in the audience, but a feeling that you're almost the director because you're getting that kind of close up, you're getting the wider angles. And I mean the blow Gabriel blow number was just unbelievable. It's so great. It's this kind of gospel inspired number with this huge dance number with multiple layers of dancers all coordinated, and Sutton Foster in the middle with this bright orange kind of flame outfit. And I think that people forget that she was the dancer first and then singer second, and her dancing is just absolutely outstanding. And Robert Lindsay is really fun as the gangster on there, and I just was in total delight. If people have a PBS passport, then you should check out for the for the Great Performances series. They just played this whole thing that was in the cinemas on the Great Performances, and I think it's still online. So if you want to watch it, you can. I just thought it was outstanding.
I must say, I've been a Sutton Foster fan since Little Women, with the song "Astonishing" just really speaking to me in my high school years. So anytime somebody mentions Sutton Foster's in it, I'm like, I'm there, I'm going. I need to listen.
I love it.
Yeah,
I know.
She's amazing. I mean, she's been nominated for I don't even know how many Tony Awards. She's won, I think, at least 2, maybe more.
Yeah,
she's won a
up
lot.
for it again. For The Music Man.
Yeah, she got nominated again for The Music Man, which I got to see her on. I've seen her twice on Broadway. I saw her in The Drowsy Chaperone years ago, and then I saw her in Music Man, which was delightful. And but it didn't have it. The Music Man, it almost felt more like a local production, which was fun and kind of charming, but it didn't have the spectacle that this had. It mean, just these huge numbers. Like I said, there would be layers of dancers, like 4 or 5 kind of layers of dancers all doing the number at the same time, And, I don't know. I thought it was just unbelievable. The choreographer is named Kathleen Marshall, and she's done tons of incredible work on Broadway, and there's some songs you might know, like I Get a Kick Out of You. That's in Anything Goes, and of course the title song Anything Goes, people know. And like Blow Gabriel Blow is, if you just look up that number, I think it's on YouTube, just look up that one because it was so good.
I do have one question though.
Yes.
Who was better in your opinion, Sutton Foster or Patti LuPone?
In
Anything Goes.
I don't know. I haven't seen the Patti LuPone. Well, she's not in this.
Oh no, she did a revival a couple years back, so that's why I was like,
I mean, I feel like I remember that. I have not seen it though.
Okay.
But I did see Patti LuPone in Company in my last trip, so I can speak to that at least comparing that.
Wow.
And I mean, how can you do any better than Patti LuPone singing "Ladies Who Lunch" in Company? I mean, hello, she was incredible.
I'll drink to that.
Yeah. And
you
know, one of the things that I decided after the horror of having all of theater shut down for 2 years, it was just, I thought it was just absolutely terrible. It made me sick. That once I got vaccinated, I was going to support local theater and even Broadway as much as I possibly could. And so I set a goal. I was going to try to go to as much stuff as I could go to. And I am, by the end of June, I think I will, since I got vaccinated in and I started going to shows in mid-April last year, I will have now, I think by the end of June, I will have seen 100 shows.
Wow. That's awesome.
Wow,
That's incredible.
And it's been a great, best goal ever as far as I'm concerned.
You're like, I'm having so much fun. This is great. I should set more goals like this for myself.
Yes.
Because I just love it so much. Even a bad shows to me still fun. It's
the energy.
I mean, especially in a local show, but sometimes I like local shows even better than Broadway shows because there's just something so like contagious and sweet and people are giving up of their time that it's really fun. So I love musical theater, so I had to include it on my list, and I'm so glad you both agreed.
Yay.
Yeah.
My number 3. All right, Manda, what's your number 3?
Oh boy, we're switching gears. I have hard left. Just fair warning. I have the Batman at number 3. I thought it was just a refreshing take on the character. I really liked what Matt Reeves did with it. I was not a fan of the Dark Knight trilogy just because it felt like repetitive. Thank you. And reused. I did not like Christian Bale as Batman. These are all hot takes. I'm so sorry.
No death threats allowed, please.
Yeah, please God. Like, this is I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, Rachel. Do not blame Rachel, blame me. But yeah, I thought the cinematography was great. The story is a bit wonky. But I love the cast. I thought the cast was extraordinary. I think they did a fantastic job. Robert Pattinson really grew on me as Batman more so than Bruce Wayne. Of course, he has to come into his own because it's a year 1 Batman. Yes. I love Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman.
Oh,
I thought
she's so good.
She's fantastic. Just standing there. I'm like, yep, thank you very much. I adore you. John Turturro, Colin Farrell was unrecognizable. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, it's just a different take, and I really liked what they did with it. Even Paul Dano as the Riddler, like I was a fan of his since Prisoners, and just to see him back in like a bigger role like this, just damn. I was impressed.
Like, I think he's a solid actor. I think he's a good actor, but he has the best agent. Like, he gets in every great property. I swear.
Yes.
Like, I mean, he does. I want to tell someone like Logan Lerman, get Paul Dano's agent. You're just as good as him.
He's gonna be a bullet traded with a beard and everything. At least he has that.
Thank God.
I was like, wow, how do you keep getting in these movies?
I know.
But he was good in it. I agree. Yeah. All right, Molly, what's your number 3?
Yeah. So I also agreed with Manda that I did really like the Batman. I think it was this really good mix of the Dark Knight and Batman the animated series, and of course the Tim Burton Batmans, which I absolutely adore them. I love Batman Returns, and that's the hot take. People are going to be like, even with the Penguin funeral, it's like the Penguin funeral makes me cry. Shut up. Yes, and eating the fish right there, like yum yum yum. It's like, yes, give me more gruesomeness, please.
I don't mind the Penguin funeral. I do get a little bored with him running for mayor.
Yes. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. And then it got really scary when it happened in real life with Donald Trump. So you're like, oh God, people did actually vote for a literal monster into office. That's the hot take right there. Yeah, so I really liked it. I also like telling people Zoe Kravitz got to reprise her role in live action for Catwoman because she was Catwoman in the Lego Batman movie. Right. And I remember
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I also put in my letterbox this is the movie that Lego Batman would actually love the most, because Robert Pattinson, I can totally see him saying like, I don't do ships. I don't do relationships. I can totally see him saying that. He's just such a loader and like Nirvana playing in the background, like, oh my gosh, this is the adult version of the Lego Batman, and I am loving it. So I really like that.
I guess the reason why I was in the middle on it is I did feel like I felt like it was just kind of one note, that it kept saying the same thing over and over and over again. And I liked the idea of the detective, but I wish that we'd gotten to know Bruce better as a character. I feel like he was barely in the movie. And I don't know, I just felt like it was a really long movie and I didn't really get to know the characters as well as I wanted to get to know them. And it was just a lot of sort of the same note kind of repeated over and over again for me. But I did like some things about it. Like I said, I was right in the middle on it. But so was that your 3?
Oh no,
yeah,
that was no. I was just like, oh, that. But my 3, actually, most people probably count this on 2021, but it came into theaters near me in 2022, so I'm counting it. I actually picked Belle from Mama Hosada, and I love the Beauty and the Beast story. The original Disney and Jean Cocteau 1946 version are some of my favorite movies. And I love how it was taken to this new place. And of course it's a musical, so I love that music too. And I watched the Japanese original, so and I got that, and it was just enrapturing to watch. And it also it actually had a positive spin on the internet, which funny enough, like Batman had it like difference where you can actually get people's worst impulses through the internet. Well, this one is just like, you can get people's worst impulses, but there can be some hope and positivity in that, which I really liked. In the climax, I just actually cried during the climax when she's singing A Million Miles Away to get the Beast back and try to help him and his brother. And I'm just like, oh gosh. And she's learning how to be like her mother, who died saving this child she didn't even know, which in the film for the longest time she's grappling with, just like, did my mom leave me on purpose to save this child? And was she being selfish for this? Because the internet warps your brain with that, because there was all these message boards saying just like, that woman was selfish for trying to save that child she didn't even know, leaving her own child without a mother, that sort of thing like that. Because the internet can have the people's worst impulses, but there can always be some good with it. And I really loved how that balance Hosoda really brought in there. Of course, I like to say it's the better remake of the original 1991 version than the 2017 remake, because there are that like the castle and everything, all and shots were definitely meant to evoke the Disney movie. And in fact, Belle was even designed by a Disney animator, so, and that's why she's got bigger eyes than usual, because she's got that Disney princess eyes. And I was just like, and I just really love that. And I love that the same studio that did Wolfwalkers also helped with the CGI. Just this collaborative experience just coming in to help with all of them to make this gorgeous film. And I really just loved it. It's close to my heart for this year. So yes.
You're speaking my language. I absolutely love this movie. I don't know if you remember, Amanda, but I had it in my top 5 of last year.
I remember, yeah.
Yes.
And I just absolutely was so moved by it. I agree with everything you said. The positive message about the internet that we usually don't get, and it's something that I've felt for a long time, because obviously there are those trolls and there are those negative experiences, but I just think even doing this series, like the incredible people that I've gotten to meet over the last 2 years, and that's just one example. But I do think that for the negative, I've had probably more positive from my interactions. So certainly I can't imagine getting through the pandemic without it. I don't know how, as a single person, how I would have gotten through that. It would have been really hard. And then when she starts to realize, like, because she's seen her mother as this kind of horrible person for what she did, and then she sees this truly horrible father, and she saves these boys, and it saves the beast basically, and she realizes, okay, my mother was actually not. She learns to forgive her mother because of what she sees with this example. It's just beautiful. It's so good. I'm so glad you mentioned it. I could talk about it all day. It's
Yes.
so good. And I got to see it. I was so fortunate. I got to see it at Animation is Film with
Nice.
Hosada there. He introduced the
Oh,
movie, and the whole theater was just like glued to the screen. It was like, nobody's getting up to go to the bathroom in that screen. I tell you that. It was incredible. And
yes.
I think if you're in the LA area or you have the ability to go, the Animationist Film Festival was absolutely
Oh,
outstanding.
yeah.
It was so well done, and it was really fun to get to see movies that were going straight to streaming. Actually, got to see them in the theater. I got to see Luca, and I got to see
Oh, yay.
Raya, and I got to see
Nice.
like the first 10 minutes of Encanto,
Oh,
which was
yeah.
very exciting at the time.
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah, it was great. I highly recommend it. It was very well
Yes.
run. All the panels were great. So I saw Mitchell's Machines too. It was
Yes.
yeah, it was really
Oh, I
good.
so badly
Yeah.
wanted to see that in the theaters.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So
Yeah.
a very, very good pick for your number 3. All right. My number 2 is my favorite animated film of the year so far. This did go straight to Netflix, so I feel like it's kind of gone under the radar. People aren't talking about it that much, but it is from Richard Linklater, Apollo 10 and a half, A Space Age Childhood
Yes.
is my number 2. And this movie, for people that are very plot dependent, it might be frustrating. It doesn't have a ton of plot, but I absolutely loved it. I loved just by going back to this childhood, it made me go back to my own childhood and think about it's just everything that they were doing. If they were going to the amusement park, it made me think of going to Disneyland with my dad. Or if they were at the beach, it made me think of going to the lake or the pool, or I don't know, just all the different experiences they go through. It made me think of playing board games with my family. And we did this for indie animation. We picked this, my friend Stanford and I, for our podcast, and the whole podcast was basically us just sharing, like, you remember that, or you remember doing that, and what would your mom make, what casseroles did she like, and it was one of my favorite podcasts that I've ever done. I really loved it, and I think that's the gift of this movie, is kind of get you to think back to the memories of your life. And I think that's what Richard Linklater does so well with so many of his films, is he gets you to think about those small moments that make up your life, whether it's the before movies with them just talking and becoming friends, and then more, or the obviously Boyhood, with these small moments that make up this one boy's life and the mother's life too. I think that's his gift as a storyteller, and I think he uses it here. I think this is his best animated film. He's done 3. This is my favorite. But I don't know, I just loved it. I thought it was great. So did you see it, Molly?
I did, actually. I saw it on Netflix, the opening, and first I was like, why does it not have a Rotten Tomato score? This is Richard Linklater. I think it does now. I hope it does. And I was watching it, and the first thing that struck me is like, oh God, Jack Black is the narrator. I already know I'm going to enjoy this, because he just has that such great voice. And I already had heard him in Psychonauts 2 this year, which is a great video game if you guys play video games, and he's great in it. So is Elijah Wood. So, but
it does have
I'm just
90% on the tomato meter now.
Yay!
So, but it did take
That's
a while.
awesome.
I remember it was kind of slow in getting up there.
And I was especially surprised, like, Richard Linklater, why is it not getting advertised more? And I'm watching this. I remember one scene, the Red Rover let Robbie over in that scene with the bone journey. And I was like, oh, this is really going to convince kids never to do this. So thank you, movie for that. And I agree with that. It's just that the nostalgia piece, and some critics thought it was him, Richard Linklater, just only overtly focusing on his own nostalgia, and it's just like, oh, he's being pompous and ego driven that way. And I was like, I don't think so. He's really, because Jack Black is talking to us like we're a friend, like it's a fan, like he's explaining his life to us, like in a conversation in a bar or something. And it's just like, and it's just amazing to watch. And of course the rotoscoping is great, and I love the things they focus on, like how they were obsessed with the Beatles and with the hidden messages of the Beatles, because that was such a thing in the 60s. Or just like Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, LSD. And the Curse of the Herb Albert album, Whipped Cream and Other Delights, is such a great album. And I love that it was actually brought up in the movie because one of my coworkers, he was a kid during that time too. And I actually sent him a picture like that, just like, did you have this album as you as a kid? And he said, yes, I did.
Yeah.
Yes, I did. It was exactly like that, where you
Yeah.
had that. So it was just, and even if you didn't grow up during that era, it's you could actually understand what's going on. And also or at least you could connect with
Like
it.
I
'cause
said, my friend Stanford and I, we did the podcast, and I grew up in the 80s, he grew up in the 70s. This is movie set in the 60s, but we all had our same kind of connection. It was just the different versions of whatever it was in that era.
That's
So you could have grown up in the 90s and you would have the same, but it would be just different fill in the blanks.
Yeah,
So,
that childhood nostalgia aesthetic. He just he just understood.
Did you watch this one, Amanda?
I didn't, but this just sounds like right up my alley. You guys are selling it. I love it.
I was able to sell it with my friend. I just told her it's Jack Black and Richard Linklater, and Jack Black narrates, and she's like, I'm watching it.
I'm in.
School of Rock is one of her favorite movies. So she's just like, yes.
I love it. I gotta add these to my list now.
You're gonna be busy on your Netflix.
I know.
Exactly.
I know. I'm so excited. It's good.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, Manda, what is your number 2?
My number 2 is also from Sundance, and I think the reason why this is like high up there for me this year is because I watched it at 2:00 in the morning, and I watched Fresh at 2:00 in the morning with Sebastian Stan, Daisy Edgar Jones, and that movie, I didn't know what it was about. I just went in blind, and then. Oh man, I adore Sebastian Stan. I've loved him for a very long time. I think he's a very underrated actor. But he always takes these really unique roles to show off his range. And I think that he's really strong in this one. I was very surprised with it. I loved that it had to deal with women and relationships and how men take advantage of them, obviously, like Fresh and Meat, that women are a piece of meat and all of that. Like it had a conversation. I love the soundtrack. I thought it was pretty sick. Then the title card dropping like 38 minutes into this movie, like I was screaming. I'm like, oh my God, they did this. And then what happens in like the second half of this movie, like I was in shock. I didn't know they were going to go the route of like cannibalism. I had no idea, but there were the song choices really just elevated this movie. The ending wasn't my favorite, but man, was this a wild ride. And I liked the messaging in this as well. So I thought it was really strong. And I watched it at 2:00 in the morning. Like I stayed up and I'm like, I'm freaking out. I had to like put the pillow over my mouth. I'm like, I don't know what's happening.
There were a lot of wild movies at Sundance. That it's flawed, but one that had my mouth agape was Resurrection.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, that threw me for a loop for sure.
Yes.
I was like, what is happening? Yeah. My favorite from Sundance, it's my number 8, was Emergency. I absolutely thought that was great.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, Hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
I gotta watch that one too.
Yeah. So Molly, what's your number 2?
All right, my number 2 was I had to grapple with this in the number 1, but then I was like, okay, I just love number 1 so much. I'm sorry, you're going to number 2. So it's Nanny is my number 2, and this was the one I got to write a review for the film stage. And I was just very engrossed in it. And it won the grand jury prize at Sundance, which I felt was well deserved. And the director Nikayatu Juso was just so good. And of course, it takes off a bunch. It takes a lot from Osame Sembin's Senegalese films, and especially Black Girl and the immigration experience. And I actually connected with some parts of it as well, because she's struggling with the fact that she's got to make enough money to have her son come with her to America, and she has to work illegally with that. And I had a roommate who was in a similar situation. She had to finish her master's degree and leave her daughter in Guyana with her husband and only get to see her through Zoom calls and everything like this. And so seeing my roommate's pain, I could even empathize more with her pain, not being able to hug her child and be close with her. And Juso just understood that so well. And of course, when the horror elements get in, and the juxtaposed with the African mythology characters, like a Nazi actually makes an appearance. So I'm sorry if you have arachnophobia, there is a spider in there. So, but yeah, it's just like the imagery. This is what I wanted men to do. And I guess I should say, but it just didn't. And she used this imagery so well, and the relationships are well established, and the characters are just so in depth. And Anna Diop, the main actress, she is so good. And I was surprised that the only big thing she's really in right now is like, it's a CW show. It's with Robin who says F Batman. I'm trying to remember
Titans, DC's
Yes,
Titans.
she's on
Yeah,
Titans.
she's Starfire.
Yeah, she's Starfire in there. And I was like, why is she not in more movies? It's just so good. And the final climax of the scene is just like, there are so many moments, just the music and the juxtaposed images and everything. It's just so disquieting. Like the tension just is so palpable. It just pulsates off the screen. And I was just like clutching my pillow just near the climax. And like, every time the water imagery came in, I was just thinking of drowning, because of course that also relates to the African slave trade and that horror that sticks in my head. And I was just like, it was just done so well. And the imagery had a purpose there. And I was just like, oh God, I love this movie. I cried so hard at the end. No spoilers for anything else, but yes.
That makes me wish I had watched it. I didn't see it at Sundance.
It was good.
I'll have to check it out.
I was just like, okay, Monkey Paw and Bloomhouse, you're giving her next movie. Is someone going to buy her movie? Buy her a movie now? Because I was just waiting to see like, okay, is someone going to buy Nanny? Is someone going to buy it? Is someone going to buy it? And Bloomhouse finally did. I was like, thank God people are going to see it. It's definitely not going to be for everyone, though. Yeah. I will say it's not going to be for everyone, which no movie should be for everyone. So that's just how it goes. So yeah. But I love that movie. So yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, my number one is definitely a hidden gem. It comes out, I think, on the June 3rd, in small releases, but you should keep an eye out for it. It's called Hit the Road, and this is an Iranian film. Have you seen it, Molly?
No, I have not yet, but it's on my watch list.
Yeah. So it's an Iranian film that is directed by first-time director, very strong first time directing job by Pana Panahi is the name. And it's about this family that is trying to escape Iran into Turkey. And you're just following them on this road trip, basically. And it's very tense. And at the very beginning of the movie, the little boy asks sort of the question, he says, are we dead yet? And it's sort of chilling, because you almost think, are they in an afterlife? Because everything, the way it's all filmed, the way it's all done, it has that kind of eerie feeling, but then it's also can be quite funny. It's not a depressing movie, because anything that happens in a normal road trip kind of happens to them, but yet there's always this sort of underlying tension of, that they could die at any moment, and or are dead. We don't know. The father, they don't even give them names. It's father, mother, older brother, younger brother. And the father has a broken leg. And so, and he's just, it's driving him crazy. He's all itchy. So he's really snarky, really funny. And then the younger brother is absolutely adorable. He's
Aw.
so cute.
Mhm.
And then older brother is the one that is the most stressed and the
Mhm.
most nervous, and the mother is trying to calm everybody down and keep everybody happy. And everybody can relate to this. Everybody's been on a road trip, kind of at least semi like this. You've had moments like this. You've had where you're just driving each other crazy in the road trip. And it is so beautifully filmed. It makes me wish I could go to Iran, because just the vistas and the cinematography and the is gorgeous, so well done. I thought the
Mhm.
script was just so gripping and so relatable. It would be a real shame if it's not one that we hear later on in the year, and that's maybe if this could be Iran's submission.
Mhm.
I
Yes.
just think it was totally deserved. I absolutely loved it. I gave it almost a perfect score, 9.5 out of 10.
Nice.
It
Nice.
was excellent. So
Yes.
go see it.
Yeah.
If you can, look out for it. It's really good.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
Manda, drum roll. What is your number one?
Oh boy.
Ooh.
You sold that for me. So I'm really excited to watch that when it comes out. But my number one was my most anticipated for a while. And Top Gun Maverick has
Oh,
taken
yes.
the top seed for me. I am so sorry. But this movie, I don't know what it was, but like I didn't it's one of those like sequels where I didn't expect to have an emotional attachment to these
Mhm.
characters in the Tony Scott film.
Mhm.
But then they just did such a good job writing this, and it wasn't like overstuffed with nostalgia. I think they did it extremely well, where they were doing those callbacks to make the audience remember the emotional connection that we've had to Goose and Maverick's connection to Goose, and bringing in Goose's son with Rooster. I thought Miles Teller was great in this. I thought Glenn Powell plays Hangman was great in this as well. And this is one of my favorite Tom Cruise performances, in all honesty. I think it was just, oh, it was just so emotional for me. Even him being on screen with Val Kilmer, who has, his condition, it was just such a beautiful moment shared between the two of them. I cried from beginning to end with Maverick. I don't know why I was crying, and like those emotional beats are there. The action in this movie, this is what a blockbuster is. It's a little bit of everything for everybody. This is what a sequel is to an action franchise like that. An action movie like that. And it's just so amazing to watch on the IMAX screen, as you said, Rachel. So I loved it. It's one of the most entertaining movies of the year. The entire crowd was getting into it. This is what being back at the movies is about, is to have the crowd literally engaging with this screen, and knowing that they were in the cockpit, that they were flying, that they went to flight school, like that just added to the stakes in the third act, where I was also gripping my seat. I was sweating. I was leaning forward. It was just everything.
I said in my review that I think this is the perfect date movie, because I mean, it has something for guys and girls, for everybody, but also it's the movie you want to like grab the hand of the person next to you.
It's perfect. It's true. Yeah, I love that.
Yes.
And I also think it's actually more family friendly than the original. I think if people are hesitant about taking kids, it's pretty tame as far as content. There's like one F word, I think, in the IMAX.
It was perfectly timed.
So I think it's pretty a 4-quadrant film, as they like to say, covers all the bases.
Love that. Yeah, that's such a good way to put it. Yeah,
I really enjoyed it too. So all right, Molly, what's your number one?
All right, but I must ask first, is Top Gun Maverick, does it have some homoeroticism like the original?
There's beach football that happens.
So.
It looks great.
I remember watching the volleyball scene so much in elementary school, and just being like, I don't know what this is about this scene, but I just keep watching it. I feel the need for speed.
Well, it's so funny too, because John Hamm's like, why are we doing this? Is this a good use of our time? And Tom Cruise is like, yeah.
Yes, it is. Shirtless. Take that shirt off. Come on. Manly men doing manly things. Let's go. Yes, that's what I want. All right. So My favorite film is, I think it's shared by a lot of the film Twitter community. This was the one I had to grab a voice with. It's going to be this or Nanny. And this one just nudged out a bit, even though it's not perfect. I won't say it is, but Everything Everywhere All at Once. I just adore that film. I really like the Daniels previous film, Swiss Army Man. I actually watched it 3 times in the theater when I worked at a movie theater because I was like, and tell people like, you need to watch this, you need to watch this, and everything like that, and I love the sincerity their films evoke, and that's what really connects it with it. And people were like, oh, the dill, like the hot dog hands, you thought like that, like, no, it's the fact that you actually can find the goodness in other people, and everybody is more dimensional than you think. Everybody's going through something. There's so many versions of yourself you could have been. And of course it also follows a lot of the Buddhist teachings of nonviolence, which I really liked, especially with the climax where it's like, we're going to go with love and everything. And of course I just loved how it all connected. I love that Michelle Yeoh's character development in the movie, and she's learning to accept her daughter's gayness, and the fact that accept and having to actually confront her father with that and how he treated her. I even called it in my review a postmodern feminist spectacle, because I think a lot of people don't realize how kind of feminist it is, because even one of the first things she remembers when she first jumps is her birth, and her dad is just told like, oh, I'm sorry, it's a girl. It just like, it is kind of a funny moment, but then you're like, oh God, it's like because in China at that time, they had the One Child Act. So all you could have was one child. So, and that's why they always preferred boys. And I love that it was actually, she was proving, and she's always trying to get the approval of her father because that's what she was taught and everything. It's like, and then realizing like, no, this isn't how you should run your life that way, and that you actually, these decisions have consequences for other people. Like it hurts your husband, it hurts your daughter because of these issues. I did not really care for the big nose thing, but I did love Jenny Slate's character with the Pomeranian, especially the fight scenes. Like, did you want to go for a walk? And just like using and going into that universe where she's like the Benihana thing and actually using that to fight with the Pomeranian and just like flipping through the cubicles like, and I was like, oh my gosh. So yes, and when the butt plug scene happened, people were roaring in my theater. They're like, oh my God. It's just like perfectly set up. It's not just a gag like, oh, it's because they're anal retentive, that's why it's the butt plug shaped. It's like, no, it's actually going to come up here. And I love that they actually took references from these YouTube martial artists and also from every frame of painting, and I loved all the creativity that came with it, and the costuming, especially for Jobo Tubaki's costuming, just changing because she just doesn't care. And it's just a perfect anti-nihilist film, because the nihilism is just like nothing matters, and this is about accepting that nothing really matters. But because nothing matters, we can make it the world we can believe the world is what we want it to be, and we can make things matter in our own terms. And I just really love that. And that's actually the definition of absurdism right there with Albert Camus, with like Sisyphus and everything like that, just like accepting you're living in an absurd world. And I just love that. I love that Ke Quan is in it and got to actually be so good as Wayman Wong. He was so good in there. And I just and I love Jamie Lee Curtis just playing that role and everything like that. And actually just the layers. I just love this movie. I just adore it. It's gonna be one of my. It's definitely an all-timer for me. I love it. So,
yeah, and you know what? For me, what makes this movie work, because I did really enjoy it as well, and the thing that made it work for me, because a lot of times movies that are really chaotic, I have a hard time with, just for my brain. But this worked for me because it didn't take itself too seriously.
Yes, it
had a sense of humor about it. It made you laugh, and so. It didn't matter too much if I was like a little bit confused or whatever. I'm laughing at the Ratatouille thing, Ratatouille or whatever. That was hilarious. I was laughing at the hot dog fingers was funny to me. Yes. Like there was just enough it didn't take itself too seriously, which I think made it kind of charming and funny. And so I think that's why, because there were a few moments where I'm like, okay, this feels a little try hard to me. Like, I think the rocks were a little try hard to me. But because again, it had a sense of humor about it. It wasn't like Men or something like that, which is taking itself so seriously, you know.
Exactly.
And so I think that's part of why it worked so well. And so I'm really glad that you had it on your list, because I am glad that we got a chance to talk about it. What do you think of this one, Manda?
I still have to watch it.
Oh my gosh,
and like I know I missed so many.
I just spoiled so much right now.
Oh, don't even worry. I was just listening, and I'm like, you guys are selling it. I need to watch it. Like, I was just like living off of your excitement, because it sounds so great, and it was pulled from theaters like early for me. Which sucks. I know. So I have to either wait for VOD, or if they're gonna re-release it, I don't know what's happening. So that's like number one priority for me, is to try to watch this.
I saw it and The Northman double header. That was an intense day.
I can imagine. Oh God, The Northman.
Oh God, Northman.
Well, thank you both to both of you so much. This was really fun. I guess we could go over our top 5. I have Top Gun Maverick at 5, RRR at 4, Anything Goes at 3, Apollo 10.5, A Space Age Childhood at 2, and Hit the Road at number 1. And then what about you, Manda?
So at number 5, I have Jackass Forever. 4, I have Good Luck to You, Leo Grand. 3, I have The Batman. 2, I have Fresh. And number 1, I Felt the Need for Speed. And I have Top Gun Maverick.
And Molly, your 5?
All right, number 5 is RRR, Roar, Riot, Rebel. Number 4, Good Luck to You, Leo Grande, like Manda. Number 3, Belle. Number 4, Nanny. I hope it gets released this year. If not, I'll be like, I could also put in my top 10 in 2023. Like some people did with First Cow, I saw. So I was like, I'm thinking of doing that. And then number 1, of course, is Everything Everywhere All at Once, which should be playing Everything Everywhere all at once, but it's not.
It really should get another release, even just for a day.
I know,
there are people that missed it,
like
they're doing with RRR.
Yes.
But
yes.
Thank you so much to both of you. This was really fun. And Manda, how can people follow you?
Yeah, well, thank you guys so much. It was so much fun tonight. I love it. You guys can find me all over at AMX NDA Reviews on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. You can check out my website, candidxcinema.com, and my YouTube, Candid Cinema.
Yeah.
And Molly?
All right, you can find me on Twitter under Rasberry Raz. I've got my Letterboxd on there, under there. I think that's M Rasberry on Letterboxd, and I also now have my WordPress up for mollywordwrites.wordpress.com. I'm probably just gonna pay for the charge to make it a .com, but yay! And of course, my Instagram, Molly, and then Molly Rasberry, just like that with Instagram, even though I don't post as much on Instagram as I do my Twitter and my blog and Letterboxd. So yeah.
Well, you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. And also make sure you check out the playlist for all of the Female Film Critics panels, which these ladies have both been on before. And they're so much fun. I really love doing them. We've been now over 2 years. It's unbelievable to me. And we have a really exciting one coming next month. So get excited for that, and make sure you check out that playlist. And please, if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. We really appreciate that. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Appreciate that so much. We also have the Patreon group and merch store. Check that out. And thanks again, and we'll talk to y'all later. Bye, everyone.
Bye.